Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for ACC and asks, what changes have been made to ACC coverage relating to the presence of pre-existing degenerative conditions?
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, there has been no changes to the legislative cover. ACC will do more elective surgery this year at about 50,000 than the average of about 43,000 per year under the previous government. 80% of applications approximately are being approved. There has always been a contentious issue on the margin of what is an accident and what is a pre-existing degenerative condition. I will remind the member opposite that over 50,000 people were declined elective surgery from ACC during the last government, most of which were because they had a degenerative condition.
Supplementary, Mr.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
Mr Speaker, if, as the Minister says, there's been no change in policy, can he explain why the number of complaints which have been sent for formal review against ACC's decisions to refuse ACC cover have increased by 65% since National came to office when compared to the average for the 4 years prior to the election in 2008?
The Honourable
Speaker,
Dr Nick Smith.
There has been an increase in the number of elective surgery cases taken to review. I am monitoring that closely. I have noted that the actual proportion of cases going to review where the decision of ACC has been overturned has actually declined. It's critical that these decisions are made on medical and not cost grounds, and I intend to continuously monitor that to ensure that New Zealanders are receiving the ACC support that they are entitled.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
Mr Speaker, how is it that ACC seems to know the full financial details out to 2019 which support their scenario that ACC is in a financial crisis, when in answer to written questions to the Minister, neither he nor ACC can answer any questions concerning data on pre-existing degeneration or a decline in cover classification, data on the proportion of claims for treatment of shoulder injuries that have been declined due to a finding of pre-existing degeneration, and a whole list of similar unanswers, Mr Speaker, of information that's lacking that I will seek your leave to table because it's too long to actually go through the question.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
I wasn't sure whether the member was a question or whether he was seeking leave. He made the claim about ACC's... I'm happy to answer the question. He seems to make the assertion that ACC does not have financial challenges. I'd point out to the member that in the 2007-8 year, the annual report signed by Mary Ann Street showed a loss of $2.4 billion. In the year following that, ACC made a loss of $4.8 billion. Only members opposite would pretend
Point of order,
that does not indicate financial
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Jim
Mr Speaker, I asked a very specific question about how ACC is not able to answer a whole range of very pertinent questions about accident compensation and its refusal to cover claims. The Minister's gone off on a tangent which I submit to you does not in any way address that question.
Well, I'll hear the Honourable Dr Nick Smith briefly.
The member in his question made specific assertions that were incorrect about ACC not having financial problems and not being able to look forward. And when member makes those sort of false assertions, it's quite proper for a minister to want to put the record correct.
Order. This is the dilemma we get into. I mean, if the Honourable member had asked precisely the question he said he had asked without the little preamble bit, then I could have asked the Minister to answer it. But the dilemma is the question wasn't quite that precise. Supplementary question, Michael Woodhouse.
Speaker, to the Minister for ACC, what response does the Minister have to the case of Mr Neville Tui, who last week barricaded himself in the Christchurch Cathedral over ACC's decline of his elective surgery?
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, I'd firstly note that Mr Tui's claim was declined in 2008. reinforcing the fact that there has always been some contention around what is an accident and what is a degenerative condition. I also note that Mr Tui did not take up the option of an independent review within 3 months, despite being properly advised of his right. He was also given an independent hearing of his case, but failed to turn up and gave no reasonable explanation for his absence. Taking up his review rights that are free would have been a more constructive way for Mr Tui to have tested the ACC decision to decline surgery for his back problems.
Supplementary.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
Mr Speaker, how could we have gone from a level of ACC claims being reviewed which had been remarkably consistent for 4 years prior to the election of the National Government in 2008 to a 65% increase in 1 year? Was it the result of an accident? Was it the result of bad luck? Or was it the result of bad policy?
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, the members' statistics are selective. I remind the House that 80% of applications for elective surgery by ACC are being approved, that 50,000 elective surgeries will be provided this year as compared to an average of 43,000 per year under the previous government. And I say to the member that the amount of elective surgery that's being provided is properly meeting the requirements of the ACC statute.
Question of the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table...
Point of order, is it?
Sorry.
Point of order, the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
I seek leave to table the advice given to the Select Committee by the Ministry of Health from the transcript of that advice about the transfer of $60 million worth of surgery from ACC to
Order.
Health.
Am I understanding the member is seeking to table advice to a Select Committee?
That's right.
Well, I mean, has the Select Committee reported to the House?
Yes.
Well, therefore, the information is readily available to the House.
Well, I
don't think we need to waste the time of the House on that. Question number 2, Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.